She gave her last coin to the child without thinking, the way people act when kindness has become instinct rather than choice. The market buzzed with color and voices, but she heard only the thin tremble in the boy's breath as he stood barefoot beside a crate of wilted flowers. Her purse was empty after that coin, lighter than it had ever been, yet her chest felt strangely full. "For bread," she whispered, pressing the warm metal into his palm. The boy looked up as if sunlight had learned how to speak, nodded once, and ran. She watched him disappear, unaware that somewhere in the crowd, fate had paused to look at her. She walked on with nothing but the echo of her own footsteps, wondering how generosity could feel so much like falling in love. Hunger tugged at her, but hope walked beside it, quiet and loyal. She passed a cafe where laughter spilled onto the street, then a bookstore whose windows reflected a woman she barely recognized, thinner, tired, but still holding her chin high. "You'll be fine," she told herself, the words of fragile promise. What she did not know was that someone had watched her hand that coin over, had seen not poverty but courage, not loss but grace. The child returned minutes later, breathless, clutching a paper bag of bread too large for his arms. Behind him walked a man in a clean shirt and unhurried steps, eyes searching the crowd until they found her. "You dropped this," he said gently, holding out her coin. She shook her head. "It was never mine once I gave it." The man smiled, the kind that carried old sadness and new wonder. "Then allow me to thank you for teaching my son what kindness looks like." The word son landed between them like a shared secret. They sat on the cafe steps, bread broken, stories exchanged. He told her about losing his wife, about raising a child who still believed the world was mostly good. She spoke of small rooms and big dreams, of loving quietly because life had taught her to be careful. Their words wove together, laughter stitching the pauses. When she stood to leave, embarrassed by her empty purse, he said softly, "Stay." It wasn't an order. It was an invitation that felt like a door opening inside her chest. Days turned into meetings that felt like returns. He listened when she spoke, truly listened, as if her dreams were rare artifacts. He helped without rescuing, admired without owning. One afternoon he placed a folded paper in her hand. Inside was an offer for work at his foundation, a chance she hadn't dared imagine. "This isn't charity," he said when she protested. "It's alignment." She cried then, not from relief alone, but from the shock of being seen. The child grew attached to her laugh, and she grew attached to the way the man looked at her when she spoke, as if her voice was music he had waited years to hear. Love arrived without drama, steady and bright. On a quiet morning, he took her back to the market. "I want you to see this," he said, pressing something cool into her palm. It was the same coin, now set in a simple ring. "You changed everything when you let it go." She understood then that the world gives back not in the language of money, but in meaning. She had given a coin and received belonging, given hunger and found home, given trust and been met with love. As the child laughed between them and the market shimmered in the sun, she realized her hands were full at last, holding a future that felt earned, chosen, and endlessly kind.